Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this evening is a phenomenal woman that I had the pleasure of recently connecting with across social media lines. She is an award winning author. She's a mom, but her most important attribute is she's a woman of God, and she's taking time out of a very busy schedule to hang out with this evening to share a little bit of her journey, a little bit of her story with the hopes of inspiring and encouraging and uplifting others, especially when it comes to dealing with the challenges and storms of life that we all go through in some fashion or form. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest this evening, Danielle Anderson. Danielle, thank you so much for being on the show.
Good evening, and it is a pleasure being here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Danielle, before we jump into our segments this evening, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Kind of give us a snippet of who is Danielle Anderson.
What I do or what I don't do, because it's so much. It's like I'm stretched all the time. But my name is Danielle Anderson. I am originally from Dallas, North Carolina, little town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I reside now in Greensboro. I've been in Greensboro for, if I tell you, I might tell my age, right? I've been in Greensboro 38 years. So Greensboro is my home. What do I do? I am a certified chef. I teach culinary arts. Oh my goodness. I'm a praise and worship leader at my church. I'm over the children's choir. I'm on the drama team. I am a part of a local TV show here in Greensboro called Stay the Night. I used to have my own TV show because there's a character that I play, Grandma Ada May, and she had her own cooking TV show, which was called "What You Cooking" with Grandma Anna Mae. So that was a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, I do a lot. Um, I was a single mother. Now I'm a single grandmother of three beautiful little girls that make my world now. Um, what else? Oh my goodness, that's about it. Not a
Well,
lot
that's
more.
plenty. That is plenty right there. I mean, just in the first couple of minutes, I mean, like you said, you are a clearly a woman of many talents. I mean, you're singing, you're cooking, you're acting, you're writing, you're
Yeah.
speaking. You doing a little bit of everything, as you said. But even though it does seem like a lot that you do, and as you stated, I'm stretched in so many different directions. What's most important that we want to highlight right out the gate is that you're clearly walking in the purpose that God created for you to do, and exercising those gifts. And while some, many out here only have one gift to work with, clearly you've been blessed with multiple ones. So He wouldn't have gave you that assignment if He didn't think you could handle it. Of course, with Him by your side along the way. So this
Oh
is this is
yes.
awesome. This is
Thank you.
awesome. So hey, we loving it already. I know I am, and you got me thinking. Do you have a particular specialty with your cooking that you like? What is your signature dish?
Oh my goodness. Most people come to me for desserts because I'm a certified chef in both.
Okay,
I'm a pastry chef as
okay,
well as a certified chef. So I do it all.
okay,
So
okay. I
whatever
ain't
your
mad
mind
at you.
can conceive, that's what I do. And
All
that's a
right.
way God allows me to create.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And it was interesting. You started off saying you were originally from Dallas, North Carolina. Of course, I'm here in Dallas, Texas. So
Oh
it's
wow.
like, so we got two Dallases, but they're different.
They
But
different. A lot different.
a lot different. I've known a
Yes.
few people that are from the North Carolina area. I've never personally been to North Carolina. That's one of those states I've always been interested in checking out. I just never had the chance to go, but always heard nice things about it. So
Well, when you come
awesome.
to North Carolina, I promise you I'll fix you a good meal.
All right, because I like to eat. I know you can only see the top part of me, but the bottom part it, it says otherwise. It says it likes to eat, likes to be fed. So I appreciate that. I definitely keep that in mind. Well, Danielle, again, thank you for being on the show with us today. And I'm not going to waste any more time. I want to jump in and find out more about your story, your journey, and of course, more about you. So, with that said, one of the things that I like to do whenever I bring my guest on the show, and we get to this part of to our first segment, I always think it's really critical. It's really important for us to take time out to reflect back on the beginnings of our journey, specifically, even going back as far as even childhood, because I do truly believe that a lot of things that go on, even in those early stages, whether it's people that we meet or encounters that we have, while it may not make a whole lot of sense in that moment, especially in our young minds at that time, and what's important and what's not, what we tend to find out as we get older in life. Um, and begin to get more clarity as to what our purpose in life is, some of those memories of, again, those encounters and those people that we met, whether they be good or perhaps not so good, you begin to be able to connect the dots, so to speak. The light bulb begins to come on, and you start to say to yourself, you know what? That's why I had to go through what I went through. This is why I met who I met. This is why I was in this particular city or in this particular job position or whatever that thing was. Um, all of it has a connecting point. None of it happens by accident. It's all a part of God's divine design for us. And so I truly believe that, not only for my own life, but for everybody in their
Yes.
own respective paths. So, with that said, if you would take us back to the beginnings. I mean, we want to go back to the early days of Dallas and
Wow.
North Carolina, and and the other parts of your childhood, if you will. Kind of share with us, what was it like for you growing up, fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there's any particular challenges that come to mind, you can share that as well. Kind of give us the backdrop of where your story begins.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because I often tell people when I speak, especially to the younger generation, everything has a root.
Hmm.
And it's in those roots that helps make or break our life. Uh, my life started out at first as a child, it was good. M- you know, my mom and dad were together as a child. I didn't realize that they were together in the wrong way, of course. My dad was married, and my mom was the other woman. My mom has 3 kids, and his wife has 4. And when I was 8 years old, my dad turned his life over to God, and he, in turn, came to my mom and told her he could no longer have the relationship with her that he had. As a child, you don't see stuff like that. All you see is that's my dad, and I need him here with me. And because my mom was young when my dad and her got together, he was 10 years older than she was. So I think that kind of caused my mom to go into a bitter state. So in turn, her going into a bitter state because I was not just a daddy's girl, I was a mama's girl. I loved my mom, still do with all my heart. And I always wanted to please her. And because of the heartache and pain I saw my dad put her through, I tried everything in my power to make sure I didn't put my mom through the same heartache and pain. And in turn, when we do stuff like that, it causes low self esteem. It causes a lot of different things within us. But we don't realize we can never please man. As much as I tried, as much as I wanted to make sure my mom was pleased and that I was everything that she wanted me to be, I couldn't because I couldn't heal her heart. And because of that struggle, because of me longing for, my mom to embrace, because my family, that's something that I didn't grow up with, a family that all, said they love you. I knew they loved me. I knew my mom loved me, but it wasn't spoken a lot, or I didn't get the love, the affection that children need a lot. So I began to long for that affection. I began to long for the embrace, And because my mom wasn't giving it, and my dad at the time separated himself from us, I started to go look for it in other places. So I often tell people that I was looking for love in all the wrong places. So it caused me to go to mm, some places that, as a young child, I shouldn't have never been in. Oh, caused me to go down some paths that then I know weren't good. But now that I can look back, those paths now are why I'm where I am today. And I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Because
You're
when you
good.
think back, there were some things that, I went through as a little girl, and especially in my teenage years. I guess I felt beat up. Um, and because I look a lot like my dad, my mom kind of pushed me to the side. Um, she does. She will tell you that she didn't see any differences in her kids, but when you're a child, you see things that adults don't see, and you
Hmm.
feel things that adults don't feel. So even though she loved me, and now I know that we have different love languages, she couldn't love me in my love language because she didn't know it, and she could only give me what she knew. And now, that I can look at it, her and my sister have the same love language. So in turn of me being a child, I looked at it as my mom loved my sister more than me.
Mm.
My sister got a little bit more, grace and different things than I did. So as a child, I looked at it as I wasn't good enough in my mom's eyes. Um, I felt like I was, mm, I guess, beneath my sister. Um, and I do have a younger brother as well. But as I got older and had my own child and my own children, I realized some things. But my mom didn't tell me until I was grown with my own kids that she was proud of me.
Hmm.
But now I can look back and see, mm, it wasn't my mom, it was God. Because what he spoke to me was he had me separated for a reason. I gave my life to the Lord, and in turn, it drew the rest of my family. So he had to separate me. I had to go through the things that I went through as a child. Was molested by both men and women. So it created something in me that now it gave me the strength that I need to be where I am today.
Wow. Wow. Um, Let me, of course, first start off with saying I appreciate your transparency and sharing. And again, in these early stages of our time together, and this is why I like to have this moment where we do uh, reflect on the beginnings, because as you stated, um, it there's a connection. It doesn't make sense in the moment. I mean, who wants to sign up for things like molestation? Who wants to sign up for things like feeling as if you're beneath your siblings, or feeling like as if you are not loved as much as others? Nobody volunteers to sign up for that, and it makes you wonder, like, why me? Why not somebody else? But it's only until, as you shared, only until you have that relationship with Christ, and He's able to sort of, in His own way, open up your eyes, open up your mind, open up your ears, if you will, to understanding how all of those moving parts come together. It's then when it starts to again begin to click, begin to make sense, because when you think about what you do today, the people that you serve, the people that you come alongside of, the people that you pour into, it contributes to your relatability to those individuals, your authenticity. Um, and yeah, for our listeners, there is a price that you pay as you're walking into that gift, walking into your purpose. It's not just here. Let's just just celebrate it, and no hard times, no troubles, no anything. No, you've been selected for a reason, for these respective seasons, to go through what you go through, to prepare you for the ultimate assignments that lie ahead. And it's just a part of the process. And one of the things that I like to bring up a lot of times is, as a reminder to people, or if nothing more, just to bring an understanding to about, is a lot of times what we go through, it was never about you anyway. I went through it not because I was a bad person, not because I was unloved, not because I was undesirable. It was a part of. It's almost like a part of the training process. It was the training camp for you, but it was a
Yes.
spiritual training camp. It was a
Yes.
spiritual training camp that you had to go through, and it required you to endure some stuff that everybody can't go through. That everybody that's not always pleasant. Even all these years later, it's not always easy to even talk about. But it
It
was
is.
necessary to get you to where you are today, which is allowing you to walk again in that space, in that place that God specifically set up for you. And I don't know if you, again, and I always, I never know when I'm selecting a title for the show how that's going to all play out in the story, because obviously I'm hearing it for the first time, just like everybody else is. But I don't know if you caught it. Your title for your episode is A Place of Profound Peace.
Oh wow.
Well, you can't you can't enter into a place of profound
Mhm.
peace until you go through what it's like to not have that
That's right.
peace. In order for you to talk about peace, to speak on that, you got to know what it feels like to not have it. And you got to know it, not just a minor inconvenience, a minor discomfort. There has to be a story. There has to be something that happened with you in your life that you endured, that you had to process through, but that you survived, you overcame. Um,
Yes.
and it's clear that you're in that place of profound peace, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be able to be on this podcast to even talk about this.
No.
It's a journey. It's a process. There's no way you'd even sign. I'm not telling anybody that. I'm
Yeah.
not sharing that. I'm still battling with that. You mean get on the internet and share this with total strangers, for them to judge me, to have their thoughts and opinions about me? Don't matter that I don't know them, but it's just
Mhm.
the idea of that happening. But when you are in a place of profound peace, when you are comfortable in your own skin, when you understand that I'm not perfect, but I'm in relationship with a perfect God who can get me through those difficult and challenging times, who doesn't judge me by the scars and the imperfections and the markings on along the way, but that he gives me that comfort, that peace that I need. Then that exudes itself when you again are put in positions where you can speak to others and pour into others. And so that's what I want to make sure people understand. And of course, also in what you shared, of course, there was a personal part of it, that directly connected with me, because you and I have a similar, not exact, but similar in the sense that of course, I am born of an extramarital affair myself, and so when you have a scenario like that as a child coming up in that, when that moment comes, whether it happens earlier on in the relationship or later on in the relationship, where a decision obviously has to be made. Do you stay with us, or do you stay with the family that you was with? Now we know that the logical thing would be, well, you already had a family. That's who you need to go through. That's who you need to go with. But what do you lose? The child who had no choice in this. What do you lose? Now I
Right.
lose that parent. In this case, for you and I both, that dad is no longer is not able to be physically present in the home. Yeah, we may know where he's at. We may be able to visit or see or speak, but it's just not exactly the same when they're not in the
Not this.
home day to day. You know, so some other kids who are technically our siblings, our half siblings, they get to experience him, but we don't get to have that same experience, and you feel some kind of way. It's not a jealousy per se, but it's sort of a, I'm feeling left out. I'm feeling, kind of
Well,
abandoned. Like I'm just the other kid, that may or may not even be welcomed or received, by that side of the family. So, for anybody that's tuning in that has experienced that, unless you've gone through that, only then would you know what that feels like. And it's it's not always a good a good feeling. And you got to be cut from a certain kind of cloth to be able to process that
oh
and not
yes,
let it get in your head so much to where, again, you feel less than, that you feel
yes.
unworthy. And so, yeah, that immediately resonated when you started talking about that. I'm like, ooh, that's me. Even the age that my dad was 14 years older than my mom, and
Wow.
and I definitely identified with when you spoke about having this, almost like this assignment that you gave yourself, that I got to look out for mom
And I
because
did.
she doesn't have anybody that's with her in this journey. So she's having to fly solo, single parent, not have the companionship. Even though the companionship took place out of context as it should have been, it's still a lack of, you still have that void. And so
Yes.
feeling the need to take that weight on, even though it comes from a good place, it's exhausting. It it's like I'm trying to do everything to make, in this case for both of us, make mom happy, and we find pleasure in doing it. It's not that we have that we got an issue with doing it, but it's a lot,
It's a lot.
and it never feels like it's enough.
No,
And then, and you're saying to yourself, well, I'm the kid. I'm not supposed to step in as the companion, or the parent, or any of those things that other, in this case, that dad would have taken the
that
responsibility for. Now I'm stepping in these roles, but I'm just a kid. I'm not even having a chance to just be a kid.
and I
you
didn't.
know so, and that's perhaps another conversation for another day, but when you start talking about that, I'm like, ooh, I know what that
Yes.
looks like.
And I often tell the men it's the dad that makes or breaks the children,
hmm
especially the daughters.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
We,
being a father of a daughter now, it's like,
mm,
I think
hmm,
about that, and I'm just
yes.
like, it's but yeah, you're right. It's the dad oftentimes, not, and that's not in any way to downplay the mother's role. Obviously, she
Yeah.
has a just as important role as the father does, but it's depending on who the child is in terms of the gender and what the relationship is. It does matter.
It
I would,
matters.
I mean, you think about that daughter dad situation. I mean, for a daughter, the dad is the first example of what the ideal man is to look like. She's
Yes.
following that example, good or bad. So she's often gonna, at least in the very beginning, she's often gonna pursue men who remind her of
Her
daddy.
dad. Hmm.
So does she see the good side of dad, or does she see the not so good side of dad? Does she see the side of dad that's caring and compassionate and loving and forgiving and supportive and all that, or does she see the dad who's distant and not there and away, and then as a result, if you see the opposite of that, then here's that daughter growing up and now interested in relationships, but as you said, perhaps looking for them in all the wrong places, or perhaps settling,
Settling.
when she shouldn't be,
Yes.
not creating boundaries that should be in place, things of that nature. So it's a whole another dynamic that comes along with that. And like I said, it could very easily be a whole separate conversation in itself. Um, but again, appreciate you sharing just even just in early goings here as you have, because this is definitely a real a real subject, a real topic to discuss, and there are a lot of people, like I said, men and women who've gone through similar type of situations but don't know how to
Don't
process it, and some of them the trauma of it all has trickled even into their adult years, and it's affected relationship after relationship after relationship, has
and we
affected
don't
and
realize those
yeah,
things are curses,
yeah,
because in turn my daughter, b- b- that's why I have my three grandbabies.
mm,
And
gotcha,
I'm determined that it's going to be broken. I will
mm-hmm.
not allow them to continue it on.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, I hear you. Well, yeah, that's good stuff. So Danielle, I mean, again, you've shared some challenges in growing up. I mean, it obviously wasn't all bad. There's some many good things to highlight, but there's some
But
storms in life to highlight as well. And of course, as we enter into our adult years, it doesn't change in the sense of the experiences still come, the challenges still come, and the reality is that if you live long enough, there will come times in life where you will have season moments of life where you get hit with a situation that's heavier than the normal day to day nuances. You get hit
yes,
with something that it's you and this storm, and you don't see any way out, no way around, nothing that money can make go away, nothing that a phone call can make go away, calling in a favor can make go away. It's you and this storm, and you may be feeling hopeless, helpless, drowning in it all, and not knowing what to do. Obviously, again, as I stated earlier, you're here today, so that lets me know that even in the midst of some storms of that caliber, God has been there for you to help get you through. But again, there may have been at that moment in time you didn't know, you weren't
mm,
sure, you had your doubts. And so, with that said, tell us about a time that's
um,
exactly how you were feeling
which
stuck,
time?
feeling feel, whichever time you choose to share. Hey, we many of us have
Ooh.
a multitude of stories that we could tell, but you tell whichever one that you feel led to tell, where you felt like that's where you were, the situation that you were in, no way out, no way through, no way around. But of course, through God's grace, He's allowed and mercy, He's allowed you to be able to not only see some light at the end of the tunnel and coming up out of that, but being able to have the strength to even speak about it today. So, what was that experience like for you, and what was the turning point when you began to see again that breakthrough, some light at the end of the tunnel and coming out?
Wow. I would say the most intense that I can say now, because like you said, I've gone through some stuff, stage 4 cervical cancer, sarcoidosis, but the most intense situation that I can tell you that broke me was my daughter's father. Because as I stated earlier, I was looking for love in all the wrong places, or I was settling, and I settled. And for 7 years, I was in a very abusive relationship. And I know now, due to low self esteem or low self worth. And this man, however he could degrade me mentally, physically, whatever it was, to keep me, I guess, under his grip, he did. And for 6 years, well, for 7 years, I tried on my own to walk away. Tried everything. Oh, walked in on this man not once, not twice, several times. With other women. He has a son that is exactly a month younger than my daughter. When I say he had his pet names for me, and he would always tell me that I guess I was tainted because I already had my son before I met him, and then him and I had our daughter. So he told me no other man will want me but him. So I might as well just accept where I was. And when you have low self-esteem or low self-worth, you begin to believe what other people say about you. You begin to take on what they say you are. And even though I didn't even though I didn't grow up in church, I grew up in the house with my grandmother. And she didn't go to church, but she prayed. And she taught us how to pray. And one night, it was just such a heaviness on my heart because, as I stated, I was in a relationship where guns put down my throat. I was 8 months pregnant. This man knocked me down a flight of steps. He choked me one time to the point where I couldn't talk for 3 months. And I fell on my knees and I began to cry out to God. And I said, God, I can't do it anymore. Either you're going to have to take me out of this evilness or take me out of this world. One or the other, because I can't do it anymore. And when I tell you, now I know it was the presence of God, but then I didn't. There was such a presence that night. Because this young man, he was into a lot of stuff, selling drugs, doing different things. So he would be out late at night. So I had the house to myself. And I just laid there. And it was like I was literally laying in God's arms and just cried until it was literally like my heart was coming out of my chest. And I got up. I went to bed and I woke up the next day and I said, God, I need a sign. I need to know. Well, I got a phone call from my sister. And most of the time when you're in abusive relationships, you don't tell people because you don't want people to think bad of the other person. So nobody in my family knew anything. I didn't tell anybody anything because I didn't want them to think bad of, my daughter's father. Out of the blue, my sister called. She didn't call that often, but she called and she said, what is going on? What are you talking about? She said, I don't know what's going on with Richie or what he's doing to you, but whatever it is, if he hits you one more time, and I'm thinking to myself, who told you that? Because I hadn't said anything. She said, me and Rodney, which was her boyfriend at the time, she said, we've already discussed it. You're going to pack your bags and you and the kids are coming to stay with us. So, okay, I told her okay, but I didn't really mean it at the time. So the next day I went to work and I was at work and he called me and he said, I need you to bring me some food. And I told him, I said, well, I didn't bring any money with me. And of course, he started calling me his little pet names. And when I walked in the house from work, he started in on me. And him and his friends left the house because all his friends would come and stay at the house all the time. Him and his friends left the house. And it was just something. Well, now I know, not something. The Holy Spirit just overtook me. I picked up the phone and I called my sister and I said, come and get me. And I packed enough clothes for me and my kids to have for a week. I left and I was scared at first because, like I said, I had been in this relationship for 7 years and he was all I knew. I left and then I really began to hear the voice of God. And he began to speak to me. And as I stated, I didn't grow up in church. I didn't know nothing about the Bible. But he began to, You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I created you in my image and likeness. You are nothing that he says you are. You have a purpose. I created you for a purpose. And I began to pick up the Bible, and every day for hours, I would sit and read. And he had me in two books, the book of Psalms and the book of Proverbs. And it was like every day, the more I read, the stronger I got, resisting going back to that man. The more I read, the more I realized I wasn't what he said I was. And I did have a purpose. And it wasn't what he thought it was who God said I am. I never went back after that day. Never. And God showed me, because 2 weeks before anything took place, before I left the house, I had a dream. And in that dream, God showed me him. Our whole house was surrounded by police. They knocked on the door and I opened the door. And when I opened the door, they said, look at him, because this will be the last time you see him. And when I woke up, I was sweating, I was crying, and I called his mother. And I told her about the dream, and she said to me, that's God. And he's telling you to get out of that house and take my grandbabies with you. And like I said, I left. 2 weeks later, the house got busted. 2 weeks later, the house got busted. So I was like, God, what in the world? And through all of it, God was showing me, Danielle, I'm here with you. Even when we're in our mess, he's still there with us. He showed me, oh my goodness. And I can talk about it now, because he's gone to prison. He served his 24 years, but the young man that he was selling for, he ended up killing him. And God began to show me where that could have been me. That could have very well been me. But because of his protection, because of his hand being on me, even in my mess, even because, like I stated, I was in some mess in the entertainment business. Oh my goodness. Because I wanted so much to be an entertainer, I was willing to do whatever it took. So I was in some stuff, even in the relationship with him, because he wanted me to be that singer. I was sitting right in Babyface. I was in Atlanta, sitting right in his place, about to sign a record contract. And he said to me, you have to deny your kids. And I'm thinking to myself, deny my kids? Why would I do that? And he said, in this industry, you have to appear younger than who you are. I couldn't do it. I couldn't, because they told me that I was probably going to have to sign my kids over to my mother so that I wouldn't have any attachments. I couldn't do it. Those were my kids. I loved them. I couldn't do it. So I didn't sign the record contract, but God showed me where that wasn't him denying me. That was God protecting me. Because had I gone any further into that world, I know I probably wouldn't even be here today. But God was protecting me. So even in my mess, he was protecting me, even in that abusive relationship, because that man could have took me out of here. But because of the grace and mercy of God. So when that light clicked, it ain't nothing or nobody that can take me. I'm a fight for my relationship with God. That's where I am now. That I will fight you for it. Mm-mm. I won't give it up.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Again, thank you for your transparency. Uh, thank you for being so genuine and how you're sharing here. Where do I start with this? It's let's just first start off with the fact that in that process of getting into relationship with God, He knows that before this happens, we're going through this thing of trying to fix it ourselves,
Amen.
trying to work it out ourselves, trying to navigate it ourselves. Because again, when you think about people saying, "Well, why would God, if you're so hyped up on God, why would He let you go through all of this?" Well,
Hmm.
again, it's not about a lack of care, a lack of understanding, a lack of compassion for your situation. He recognized that you were in a very dangerous, volatile situation. But in order for him to step in, which is this is where our free will comes in. He wants you to want him
Yeah.
in your life. It's not that he
Yes.
couldn't have stepped in and did what he because he's God. He can do that in an instance in a nanosecond that he can move whatever the situation is, whatever direction he wants it to go. But when he's trying to get you over that hump, get you to that point where you now instead of you're willing to let go of doing it yourself and instead casting those burdens on him, giving it to him. Sometimes that process involves allowing you to get as close to rock bottom as you can get without it actually taking you out.
Yes.
I'll never let it go so far where you can't recover from it, but I will let it go as far as you are allowing it to let it go. And so there comes a moment when you're just on that cusp where you just say, I can't do this no more. And you shared that. He was like, it's either you gonna get me up out of this or you gonna get me up out of here.
Yes.
But I can't do no more. I'm tired of trying to do it myself. I'm tired of trying to carry that weight all on my own. It's just too much. This is the
Yes.
point where I like to refer to as I have a book that talks about in one of my books that talk about the 12 steps of building and leveraging a relationship with God. And this is the point where I talk about discovering God. This is where that light bulb moment comes in. It's right before you decide to give your life to him, where he's
Yes.
allowed you to hit that rock bottom moment. You just say, enough. I can't where you're no longer ashamed to say I can't do it. Where you where you say I not only can I not do it, but I recognize that only you can.
Yes.
That it's not me, it's not my money, it's not anybody it's only you can get me through this. And
Yes.
it's at that very instant that you make that decision, that's when he swoops in and says, "Okay."
Hmm.
It's almost like he's like rubbing his hands, "Okay, now watch this." And you can't until it's one of those if you know you know. When
Yes.
you're in that moment and you just watch him put his hands together and just make stuff happen, make it work. How does he navigate a sister who, yeah, you had a relationship with your sister, but as you stated, my sister don't even call me like that.
No.
We don't talk like that. We're not like we talk every day or nothing like that. You said she happened to call me out of the blue, and I know you said it in the way you said it, but it wasn't out of the blue. It was by
Mm-mm.
design. She called. Not only does she call you unexpected to you, but then the first thing out of her mouth is about a situation that I thought nobody
Nobody knew.
knew.
Mm-hmm.
So how does she know? How does she
Mm-hmm.
know what she don't know? How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Did she just guess? Was it just an inkling? I would I would contend that God imparted that in her. He placed
Yes.
that in her and said, "Something's up with your sister. This is specifically what it is. Reach out to her and let her know that you have a safe space that she can come to along with the kids, and she gonna be all right.
And it was
Make
a
that
safe
call
space.
now." and and the call was made. You didn't expect it. It was exactly what you needed to hear. And even though you were still a little hesitant, still straddling the fence, so to speak, as to whether or not I want to do this, it was what you needed to hear. But then you said, and which we sometimes often we can be that close to our breakout moment, and then we say, and I've done it myself, so that's why I identify when you said it. Lord, give me a sign.
And I did.
Give me a sign. Just give me one more thing, and I'm a for real believe that this is what you want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And being who he is, he's like, okay, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
give you one more. I'm gonna give you one more sign to make it crystal clear that this is the move that you're supposed to make.
Yes.
So between sister calling, between her saying what she said, if he comes at you one more time, that's your cue to make the call. you know and even to that, I thought that was interesting. That was sort of your cue. If he hit you one more time, like as if he ain't hit you enough. So you
Correct.
mean, Lord, you would the cue is that I take one more lick, and that's the cue. What if that lick is the lick that takes me out? Is that the gamble? Is that the risk that I should be taking? But he already knew that it wouldn't be the one that would take you out. But because of where you were at mentally and emotionally, and I know this may sound harsh or whatever, but he knew that that's what you would understand because of the
Yes.
space that you were in. You weren't going to
Yes.
hear logic or anything else like that. You needed to get hit one more time. And I know that sounds really harsh and cold, but it was like sometimes, and my mom used to use this verbiage all the time. Sometimes you got to bump that head.
Yes.
You need to bump it one more time. I told you, or you use the analogy that you see so oftentimes with parents and kids about don't touch the stove because it's hot. You'll burn
Yes.
yourself. Sometimes, in order for us to learn, we just, I, no matter how many thousand times I done told you, you ain't gonna learn until you touch it.
Yes.
Then, oh, it is
Oh,
hot.
yeah.
I told you that thousand times, but you needed 1,001 to know for sure that what I was saying to you was real. So sometimes it's the same kind of setup, and you got to take that one little hit. But it's one of those moments though that when you're right there about to make that leap of faith, it's one of those when you know. And when
Yes.
that happened, you was like, okay, I need to make that call. And again, he removed the man out of the way for you to be by yourself, to have enough time to make the call, to pack your things, to have enough to walk away with and get up
And I
out of there
never thought
without
about
any
it, but that's how it
disruption.
was.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you enough time to get up out of there before he returns home.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he realizes that you gone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gonna set it up in such a way. Now I'm gonna give you a vision. And I'm gonna
Yes.
show you how this story is going to end.
And that's how it
Imagine this
ended, really.
setting of the same house that you just walked up out of, the same prison that you just walked away from. Imagine this place now surrounded
Yes.
by police.
Mm.
Was it an accident? That exactly is how it played out. That, like you
No.
said, literally 2 weeks later,
2 weeks
the
later.
place is surrounded. Something that even if you weren't directly involved in, the fact that you were there, you could have gotten swooped up
I will.
in that as an
Hmm.
accomplice, as an accessory to it all.
And
Could have.
when he murdered the young man that he murdered, I got called into the police station, even though I had been out of the relationship for a while. And what the police said to me was, had you not gotten out of that relationship when you did, you would have been mixed up in all of this because
Mm-hmm.
they had been watching him for 6 years. So
Wow.
they had pictures, they had everything. And they said, the only reason you're not involved in this is because we saw you wanted out.
Mm-hmm.
That was nobody but God.
Nobody. Perfect timing, perfect setting. Even if we want to take it as deep too, and I know some who don't understand this may be reaching, but this was a 7 year journey, and we understand, for those of us who know a little bit about our Bibles, we understand what the number seven represents. You
Yes.
know, this was the completion
Completion.
of this season that you were in. This was the completion of you getting of that season, and you getting ready to embark into that
A new
place of
beginning.
profound peace.
Yes.
even you talking about your desire to be an entertainer, specifically singing, for God to reveal to you. I mean, how many people have been in that same moment, paperwork in front of them, I'm about to be a star, but God allowed something to be said to you that was going to be what you needed to hear to say, as bad as I want this, I don't want it bad enough to be separated from my
For my
kids.
kids. Yeah. Mm.
No matter, even though I'm sitting in the presence of clearly one of the most famous
Yes.
producers, singers, entertainers ever, ready to make it happen. But was I willing to sacrifice that? Ironically, we keep continuously definitely lately, but of course over the last few years, we've been hearing more and more stories about this very same subject.
And
Where
as all of that stuff was going on, guess what God reminded me?
hmm,
Hmm. Yes.
he said, "I
Because
know
I
you
would have
like to
been right
sing.
there with him.
You'd been right in the mix of it. What did
Hmm.
you sacrifice to get your fame? What did
Yes.
you What did you sell? What did you sell to the enemy to have a
Yes.
little money, to have a little fame? What did you give up of yourself? Whether it was acknowledging that I have kids, whether it was something that involved my body being handled a certain kind of way, or requiring me to sing things that were not of God, and there's not any knock against any music that isn't quote unquote gospel music or anything like that, but just he revealed to
Some of it
you,
we still got to be careful of, even
yeah,
in.
you got to be careful of, but he revealed to you that I know you love to sing and I love to hear you sing, but I'm gonna put you in a space where you can shine with that gift, but it's a safe space,
Yes.
a space where your music, where your singing can impact people in a way that's pleasing to me.
Yes.
That won't require you to let go of your family. It won't require you to do anything that would take you outside of those boundaries that I want you to be setting as to what I will do and what I won't do. You
Yes.
know, and he set it up so perfectly. And even as you were talking, before I move forward, one of the things I really love too, I thought was really interesting, is you said when you finally started getting into your word, because you said I didn't grow up, in church or anything like that, but I was around a praying grandmother, so
Hmm.
I learned to pray. But then you had two books of all the books in the Bible that stood out to you, that were available, I should say, to you. You had two books, and you had Proverbs and you had Psalms. So I got a
Yes.
chance to delve into Psalms, which highlights my singing. I'm a praise and worship leader.
Yes.
Again, if we know a little bit about our Bible, we understand what Psalms represents. We
Yes.
talk about praising, we talk about singing, we talk about the beautiful, beauty of poetry, which again can be incorporated into the music. And then we talk about Proverbs, which again we understand that that's our book of wisdom. So
Right.
he's equipping me with what I need to know, so I can be a little bit, I can make better decisions, I can be on point, know what to pay attention to, and have that discernment, have that understanding, have that logic. Um, Combine that with my love for music. Again, all of these were the ingredients to put you in that place of profound peace that you're
Yes.
in now. That you can tell this, you could tell what was otherwise a tragic, rough ride, but you could still say it and have a smile on your face at the end.
Yes.
Because not because you enjoyed the ride, but because you understand who was behind it, who orchestrated it, and what it led you to. So that's what allows you to be joyful in that moment, in what was otherwise a trying time, a way, and that's putting it lightly, a difficult season. That's putting it lightly, but I could smile about it because who I knew had me all along, who've been watching me, carrying me through, giving me the strength that I needed, letting me know that I was never forgotten about. I was never unworthy. I was never unloved.
No.
I've been all
Because
that, and I still am all that to him, regardless
what
of what
God
anybody else thinks. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
what God had me to do, right before my daughter's father got out of prison, he had me to write him a letter and
Mm.
tell him thank you. I
Mm.
thought God had gone crazy. Because I said to him, "What do you mean, write him a letter? Don't you remember all that he put me through?" And he nicely said to me, "Yes." And everything he put you through is what has made you who you are today. So,
Wow. Wow. And again, something like a letter, something whether it was a letter, whether it's somebody else might have been, a conversation with the very person who imparted this hurt on you. When God is triggering you and nudging you to do those things, calling for you to do those things, that's a part of your healing process because this
and
is
it
your way
was.
of forgiving. Not
Yes.
forgiving because you condone behavior, but forgiving because you recognize that in order for me to keep on keeping on and moving forward, I got to let that stuff go. I got to
Yes.
get that poison. I got to get all of that up out of me. And one of the best ways to kickstart the healing process is to forgive those who have hurt you, whether the hurt was
Yes.
physical, emotional, mental, whatever. When you can master forgiveness, when you can say, you know what, thank you for that.
Hmm.
I didn't enjoy it. It didn't feel good, but I thank you because had you not done what you did to me, had you not made it clear to me who I belong to. You did that. Whether you realize you was doing that or not, you did that.
He did
Thank you
it.
for that. Thank you for pointing me in the right direction. Thank you for getting my mind back on track. Cause I was seeing stuff that had no business seeing. I was confused.
Yes.
Thank you for making it clear that people like yourself, people like others who don't treat me with the respect and appreciation and the love and all of those things that I'm deserving of. Thank you for making me aware of what that looks like. And of
Yes.
course, I always thank God for making me aware of what it does look like to be treated that way and how it's supposed to look. So now I know the difference. I'm
Hmm.
not confused anymore. You ain't got to worry about me settling anymore because I know now. I get it. you know, and I'm very selective about that. Who I include in my circle, I'm very selective as to who I share my innermost thoughts with. I'm very selective of who I surround myself and lean into and trust into because I know everybody doesn't have my best interest at heart,
Yes.
but I know who does, and I
Hmm.
know who will when I'm confused. When I'm maybe I can just is this right? Let me know. Give me that sign. Okay. No, let that go. Okay, not a problem. I got you. I don't care.
and
I
and
don't care
I'm a
how.
lot like Gideon. I ask for my signs.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing that says don't ask. You don't ask, you don't know. So
Hmm.
again, I appreciate you sharing. This is a powerful story. Good stuff that we're talking about here.
Thank you.
Um, so Danielle, obviously we've covered some very heavy, some heavy subject matter here. Some trying seasons of life, and yes, the storms can be like that sometimes, and then sometimes the storms could just be life, and just the day to day nuances. Whether it's again unexpected car repair, somebody getting on your nerves at the job, some, uh, you know, just it could be anything. I mean, the list can go on and on. But what I'm curious to know at this point from you is when you do find yourself facing challenging times, regardless of what level of intensity it is or what have you. What is it that personally that you like to do that kind of works best for you as you process through moments of challenge, moments of difficult times or whatever that is, that whatever that looks like for you? What is that routine, that regiment, that of things that you like to do that just kind of helps you process it all and again in a healthy and a productive way, so in the end you're able to work through whatever that thing is that you're dealing with?
Can I show you?
You can show me, you could tell me, however you want to do it. You let me know. Let us all know. What does that look like?
Because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. Worship. Anytime I'm going through, anytime I'm struggling, that's the first thing I go to is worship.
Mm.
And he showed me that, as I told you earlier, in 2001, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. And of course, the doctors gave my family the bad report. We can, we're gonna do all we can, but, and that's what he said, but. And he told my mom, of course, I was gonna lose function of my day-to-day, things because the chemo and radiation, I had to do it every day for 6 months. And I just remember one night, because as I told you, I can remember as young as 2 years old, I've always sung. But one night I was in my house and having my time with God, and I just began to sing. And as I began to sing, I could feel myself beginning to heal. And one of the things that the doctors had told my family, we know she go to church, but she won't be able to do that. I was a praise and worship leader, still am. Would I nicely told them, no, I don't receive that. So my best friend, who took me to all of my treatments, and she was there with me. I told her, I said, all I want you to do is take me to church. So after every treatment, even though the doctor said I wouldn't be able to go to church, I went to church. I didn't miss a Wednesday. I didn't miss a Sunday. I didn't miss 12 noon prayer. I was there and I was worshiping. When I say worshiping, I was worshiping. And God showed me through my worship. It did things in me that no man could have ever done. I remember being on stage one Sunday and all the breath left my body. I couldn't breathe. And I remember saying to myself, God, if I die today, I'm going to die doing what you have called me to do. And after I finished getting it out of my mouth, my pastor literally turned around and looked at me and said, and God said, breathe. And all the breath came back in my body. When I say I worshiped like a crazy person after that, oh my goodness. But God was showing me where the enemy knew that worship is one of the gifts that he's called me to do. And through me worshiping, it's not about me, as we stated before, because when we worship, it's all about God. And when we put our mind on God, then he can do what he needs to do. Because it takes us out of the picture. It takes us out of the way. And in 2010, exactly 9 years of me being cancer free, I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, a more aggressive disease than cancer. I was mad at God because I'm like, I don't understand. My lungs collapsed. They had to go in and rebuild my lungs. But God showed me through that. It wasn't the sarcoidosis. God had to do that because he had to rebuild my lungs so that now I can worship even greater than I was. So anytime I'm going through any situation or circumstance, I just begin to worship. And worship doesn't always mean singing. That's where, worship is a lifestyle. And sometimes I just sit and listen. Just sit in his presence. That's worship. I just sit. And I have realized that as I'm sitting and listening, he's imparting. And it's the book, From Darkness to Light. It was in one of the darkest times when I was going through the sarcoidosis. Writing that book was worship because it was exposing the enemy. And that's what worship does. It exposes the enemy because the word says he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So he's on his job. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But when you expose him, that's why the Bible says resist him and he shall flee. When you expose him, that's when he turn and go the other way because it confuses him. What do you mean you worshiping God and you saying thank you Jesus? Do you know where I got you at this time? And you can still thank God. You can still praise Him. You can still worship Him. You can still go on in spite of. That's worship. In
Mm.
spite of. When you can still go on in spite of. And it was because God showed me one, as again, going through the sarcoidosis, here again, same way with the relationship. I was ready to die because I ached like a toothache, my entire body, all day, every day for an entire year. They couldn't figure out what was going on. They didn't understand. But God showed me where He said, I need you to lift up your hands. And I did. He said, in one hand is a piece of coal, in the other hand was a diamond. Okay, God, what does this mean? He said, Danielle, they're both the same. He said, that piece of coal, you can use it for a few things around the house, but that diamond is much more valuable. He said, but that diamond can't become that diamond until it's put under pressure, until it goes through the fire. He said, and remember, the more intense pressure and the more intense the fire, the more valuable that diamond becomes. And he said, Danielle, just like that diamond, you are my diamond that I can use in the kingdom to cut away at sin. He said, think about the stuff that you're going through, and somebody else sees you that don't know me the way you do.
Mm.
Danielle, I can use you to draw them to me. You becoming my diamond, Danielle. He said, and remember, when a man gives a woman a diamond, what does that do? That encourages her. It uplifts her. That's what my diamonds do for the kingdom, Danielle. So it's your choice. Do you want to be that piece of coal, or do you want to be that diamond?
Hmm.
And ever since that day, I don't care what the storm, because in that He reminded me, remember, I asked Satan, have you tried my servant Job?
Hmm.
So what makes you any different?
Right.
So, so to answer your question, anytime, because even today, of course, I knew I had this interview coming up. When I say my boss, normally we're the best of friends. He got on my everlasting nerve today. And I'm like, what in the world? I was supposed to get off at 2, so I could come home and prepare and, spend time with God. It was like every time I would get ready to leave, well, I need you to do this. And I'm like, so I came in the house, finally got off. And in my mind, I'm thinking I have to meet you at 6 o'clock. So I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to get to spend no time with God. And when I pulled up the thing, it was like I could hear God chuckle. Danielle, you're going to get to spend time with me, because remember, He's Central Time, you're Eastern Time.
Right.
So I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. So I was able to come and just sit and just listen, because I say, God, every word that comes out of my mouth, I want it to come from you, because if it doesn't come from you, then it can't touch the lives that need to be
Hmm.
touched. So to answer your question one more time, worship, because
I
that's
love
what I
that.
started doing.
I love that. Love that. And I like the fact that you said worship is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Uh, worship is not always singing.
Mm-mm.
It's it's whatever way that God is allowing you to creatively let out. But starting off with exposing the devil,
Yes.
but finishing up with praising
Glorifying
Him,
God.
glorifying
Yes.
God. So it's a full circle moment. It's multi-purposeful. It
Yes.
exposes that enemy, and it reminds him that no matter what you think you're throwing at me, no matter what you think you doing to disrupt my flow, disrupt my day, I give all glory to God, and He's going to make sure that I'm all right, regardless of what you're trying
Yes.
to do. Even to you just sharing a little snippet about how the day was going for you. A work relationship that normally is smooth flowing and everything was getting on that nerve. But and that
Mm.
was intentional. That was the enemy trying to disrupt your spirit for the day, knowing what the assignment was for you later, hoping
Yes.
that you, by the time you get home, that you'll be so frustrated, that you'll be so annoyed and agitated that you'll either possibly cancel or you won't go into it with the right spirit, with the right heart. Um, anything that he can do to disrupt the flow, because he knows what's about to happen. He knows the potential impact that something like this little platform can do, but it has a big assignment behind it. So
Yes.
and that's why when you and I talked before the show even began about keeping in mind that we don't know whose life might be changed just from us sharing a little bit of snippet. We could talk hours and hours and hours about your whole journey, but we don't have that kind of time. But just a little snippet could be game changing for someone just within the sound of our voice, which is why it's so important to be in a position where you can share as you've been doing this evening, and being vulnerable and being
Thank
transparent, because it matters. It
you.
really
Yes.
does, whether we realize it or not. It matters. And then lastly, just how God can take what otherwise seems like a tragic moment in time and just flip that thing into a miracle, flip that thing into a blessing.
Yes.
I thought the sarcoidosis example was huge. Like, my lungs collapsed. They
Yes.
had to restructure them, rebuild them. Huh. Well,
Hmm.
why would that be? Well, we know the medical aspect of it, but think about what you do. I'm a praise connoisseur.
Mm.
I I like to belt out. Okay, well, let me enlarge those lungs a little bit. Let me restore them, refresh them, so you can really praise me the way I know you in your heart want to. I want to make sure that there's no boundaries, no limitations for you to be able to do that. So again, had to take you through something that was rough. That was a tough storm to go through, but in the end, I got refreshed, renewed lungs. Now I can. I thought I was belting out before. Now I can really hit that note. Now I can really shout. That's.
Yes.
But that again, God will take things like that we don't even, if we're not paying attention to, we won't even make the connection. Why I had
Yes.
to go through that because of this.
Mm.
you know, because of the assignment that was ahead. Sometimes it's just to keep you reminded. He just
Yes.
reminds you, okay, I got you through that initial situation, that initial storm of abusive relationship, because he realizes that sometimes when we go through some of the darkest seasons in our lives and he delivers us through, we're excited, we're praising him, we're thanking him. But if we're not careful, we'll get comfortable
And forget.
and
Hmm.
forget him, forget what he did and all that. And guess who's on the sidelines? The enemy is waiting for you to get comfortable and let your guard down so he can creep
Yes.
on back in and get you in another way.
Yeah.
Why you got your guard down, why you ain't paying attention. So, God understands. I got to keep you sharp. I got to keep you on your toes. We got to have some exercises every now and then that you go through to continue to elevate, to keep building that level of that, again, what I call that spiritual work, or that spiritual endurance,
Yes.
that spiritual strength. I got to keep building that, because the more I build that up, the more muscle you build spiritually, the more I can use you. As you said earlier, I can use you. You can be that diamond that connects me to people who don't know you who don't know me like you know me. So
Right.
that all of that is just, it's so real, it's so necessary, it's so powerful. And again, I hope our listeners are understanding the connection here and why we're spending the time that we are trying to make sure everybody gets it, because this is
Thank you.
not, again, not by accident. This is all by design. So awesome, awesome. So Danielle, when you reflect back on all your experiences in life, good, bad, or otherwise, everything that you've been through, everything that God has taken you through, if you had the chance to sit across the table from younger Danielle, um, Danielle, who once upon a time didn't see her value, didn't see her worth, felt unloved, felt forgotten about, felt put to the side, all of those things. The Danielle who didn't have boundaries, didn't have, that the hope that a better life was in store for her. If you could just impart a few words of encouragement, a few words of wisdom, what would you like to share with her? What do you think could have benefited her that you know now, that you wish she knew then, that you think would have helped to navigate her path a little bit smoother, a little bit um, more, strategic, if you will. That doesn't mean that she wouldn't have gone through what she went through, but maybe she would have handled it a little bit different. And as well as our listeners, there's some people who are probably tuning in right now who currently dealing with some of the things that you've talked about, the health challenges, the abusive relationships, all of those things, the feeling of unworthiness and all of that. What would you say to them? What would you say to younger Danielle if you could impart some words of wisdom and encouragement?
Younger Danielle, as I stated earlier, you were created in the image and likeness of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. God knows the plans that He has for you. He created you for a purpose. Go after that purpose. And just remember, write the vision, make it plain. And don't allow anything or anybody to distract you from that vision. Because if God gave you the vision, then He's going to make provision.
Mm,
That's what I would say to her.
I love that. Love that. And if we have any listeners right now that are going through that abusive relationship and they don't know how to get out, they want to get out, but they don't know how to get out, or they're dealing with that illness that the doctor has told them don't look like there's a way,
Hmm,
but you know better.
hmm.
Multiple instances of knowing better. What would you say to them if we got anybody like that that's tuning in right now, and that's the position that they're in, and they're trying to find that glimmer of hope? What would you have to say to them?
You got to trust in God. He knows everything. He knows where you are, He knows where you're going, and He knows where you've been. So if you just put all of your trust in Him, Psalms 23, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil because He is with me. If you get that scripture in your spirit, that's why He says we got to write it on our heart. And I have found that in my darkest time, I might not be anywhere near a Bible, might not be anywhere close to a Bible, but it's like it begins to bubble up. It's like it just out of nowhere, scripture. I begin to think about scripture that I wouldn't have thought about had I not been in that situation.
Mm. So to that, because again, I want to go back to what you said earlier. Worship is a lifestyle.
It's a
I,
lifestyle.
I, I don't know how to worship, Danielle. I'm listening to you today this evening. I'm one of the listeners tuning in this evening, and I've never really embraced worship. I've never understood it as a lifestyle. Where do I start to begin to worship God? If I'm just where's my first steps to begin that process?
Everything you need is in the Word of God. I learned to worship through His Word. That's where I truly learned to worship was through the Word of God.
Awesome, awesome. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Danielle, this has been a phenomenal time with you this evening. Everything that you've shared, the way you've poured into us with just giving us a little bit, a glimpse of what your journey and what your life has been like. It's just been a powerful point of discussion this evening. And I'm so thankful that you were gracious enough to accept the invitation to be a part of this experience. You've blessed me, you've blessed my listeners, and words can't express enough how much I appreciate you and the way that you've just poured into us this evening, allowing God to use you as a vessel to do just that. And I'm so thankful for that, and know that you always have an open invite to come back on the show again in the future to talk about other things. Because, like I said, there's so many things that you captured this evening that we couldn't fully capture in one evening. So know that you always have an invitation to be welcome back because it's just been that special having you with us this evening. But before I let you go, as is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, I do want to take the opportunity to celebrate you, to love on you, to lift you up. So if you
Thank
got
you.
anything that's going on right now or that's coming up down the road, please tell us all about it, how to support it, how to get connected, how to continue to follow you well beyond this podcast episode. If nothing more, to just keep you lifted in prayer and all the work that God has you doing. So what does the audience need to know about what Danielle Anderson got going on and how we can be a part of that?
Wow. Of course, you know about um, the book that that came out last year, From Darkness to Light. When I say God That's all I can say. When never in a million years would I have thought that I would be able to say that I'm a four-time Amazon number one bestseller, um, Global Book Award twice, Insider Edition 2025, um, Inspirational Book of the Year. Um, wow, that's all I can say. And From Darkness to Light, of course, you can purchase it at any of the major book outlets, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any of those outlets. And oh Lord, as I stated, I'm busy, busy, busy. I'm working on book number two. And book number two is There's Power in Forgiveness. And it's funny that you said that earlier. That's why I giggle. That there's power in forgiveness, because all the stuff that's going on now, God wants us to remember that if we don't forgive others, He won't forgive us. And we have to remember that hurting people hurt people.
Hmm.
And He's, like I said, prompted in me. So I'm working on that. Um, you don't know Ada May, but Grandma Ada May is the character that I play. Is We just had a big comedy show here for the city of Thomasville, and what we're doing is we do comedy shows to raise awareness for gun violence. We're doing a big scholarship, so we're working on that. We're going to do a big dinner theater for Valentine's. So, but unfortunately, you're way out in Texas. So, and not only that, as I stated, I'm a caterer. I have my own catering business, but I am working on having my own event center. So, like I said, I have a lot of irons in the fire, but just keep me lifted up and just pray that my will won't be done, but God's will be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if people want to like keep up with any events that you got going on, or anything like that, is there a best way for them to do that? Social media or
Uh,
website, anything like that?
Facebook under Danielle Anderson. Same thing with YouTube, Instagram. Everything is under my name.
Mhm. Okay. And are you a traveling caterer or you just local? Somebody say, "Hey, I heard about your eating. Can you come our way or can you ship me something?" I mean, is that you got
I,
it
I
set up
do it
like that?
all.
All
I do
right,
it
all
all.
right. Hey.
I even have one called Special Occasions Dinner for Two. And I try to tell couples every day should be a special occasion when you're
Hmm.
with your loved one. And what I do is bring the restaurant to you. So you don't have to go out into a crowded restaurant. When you have those special times you want to just spend together with your loved one, I create the whole atmosphere. The
Hmm.
you know, I decorate, I serve, I do everything.
Nice, nice. Well, to our listeners, there you have it. She's told you all the many skill sets that she has and how to tap in. Definitely follow her. Continue to keep her lifted in your prayers. Be of support in any way that you can. Pick up her book. That blessing that she has in store in what she's put down in pen and ink. So, you know, do your thing. Be a part of this experience and be blessed by this woman of God who has again hung out with this evening and shared and poured into us the way that she has. And definitely know that you will be in my prayers. And I'm just excited about what God is going to continue to do for you moving forward in the weeks and the months and years to come. Because I believe he's just getting started with you. So there's a whole lot more Danielle Anderson we're gonna be hearing about. Again, I'm all excited for it and I'm all in on it. So thank you again so much. And to my listeners, if you've enjoyed our broadcast this evening, if you've been blessed by what we've talked about tonight, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. We want to empower, encourage, uplift, inspire, especially when it comes to dealing with these challenges of life. And we do it by being transparent and vulnerable and letting you know that, hey, we too go through our stuff. Nobody's sitting here pretending that we're perfect without flaws or anything like that. We go through it just like everybody else does. But one of the things that we've recognized, took a while, but we ultimately got the point that if we just get into a relationship with Christ, if we lean on God and trust in Him, cast our burdens on Him, He can do miraculous and wonderful things in our life beyond human understanding. And so, if you don't currently have a relationship like that, today is a mighty fine day to make that decision. Telling you something, not telling you something that we heard, telling you something that we know from firsthand experience. Get some of this. He has
Yes.
unconditional, unlimited love to share. And he wants to be in relationship with you. So if you don't have that, embrace it now and just watch him do just not only bless you personally, but equip you to be a blessing to other people. So don't wait another minute if you haven't already made that decision. So with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is a place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight, keep leaning into God, trusting in Him, giving it all over to Him. Don't feel like you got to work through these challenging and difficult times by yourself. You don't have to do any of life by yourself. He wants to do it with you, in relationship with you, in partnership with you. And again, He will never lead you astray. He will never forsake you. He will never just leave you out there hanging. He wants to see you win. And who better to be partnered with? Because His record is undefeated last time I checked. And it will continue to be that way. So be
Yes.
on the side with Him and just watch Him do, again, miraculous and wonderful things. So until then, I look forward to seeing you next time on our broadcast. You take care of yourselves and have a great rest of your evening.